Hello, everyone. We're going to start our speaking portion now, so continue to mingle, eat, do whatever you want, but we are going to have some special guests coming up and talking. So my name is Nicole. Good afternoon. It's an honor to welcome you to Revere's second annual Shame on Stigma event. On behalf of the Substance Use Disorder and Homelessness Initiatives Office, thank you for being here and for standing with us. So what exactly is stigma? Stigma is the unfair judgment and negative labels people face, in this case because of substance use disorder. It's what makes people feel ashamed, silenced, and unworthy of help, when what they really deserve is compassion and support. That shame keeps people in the shadows, it makes families hide their pain, and it builds walls when what we really need are bridges. If there is one thing that we can all agree on today, I hope it's this. Substance use disorder does not discriminate. It does not care about your age, your race, your background, your job, or your income. This disease can affect anyone at any time, and yet even though it is a disease, too often people are met not with compassion, but with judgment. Too often, families are silenced by shame. Too often, stigma creates another barrier on top of all the others. That silence, that shame, and that stigma costs us lives. But here today, we are flipping the script that has been deemed shameful for far too long. We are saying that there is no shame in using drugs, no shame in needing help, and no shame in saying, "This is my story." Instead, we are saying shame on stigma. We are saying there is strength in honesty, there is courage in change, and there is love in community. When we say shame on stigma, we are not just naming an event, we are declaring a movement. We are saying that we will flip the script, we will talk about substance use openly, without whispering, without judgment, and without fear. Because the reality is that everyone here, every single one of us, knows someone. A friend, a neighbor, a family, or maybe even ourselves. We are all human, and being human means that we all deserve dignity, compassion, and the chance to heal. So today, let's honor the lives lost, let's celebrate the lives in recovery, and let's stand together for those who are still trying to navigate their own path. Let's promise one another that we will carry this message beyond today into our workplaces, into our families, and into our cities. Because when we end stigma, we open doors. We make it possible for people to step forward without fear, to ask for help without shame, and to begin again with dignity. So thank you for being here. Thank you for your courage, your compassion, and your commitment to change. Together, let's raise our voices, flip the script, and say it loud and clear, shame on stigma.
Shame on stigma!
And with that, I'm going to introduce our first speaker, Pete Sacco. He is a 500-hour registered yoga teacher, certified vibrational sound healer, and a person in long-term recovery for over 12 years. Discovering yoga early in recovery gave him joy, healing, and purpose, which led to over 9 years of teaching across Boston and beyond. As Director of Community Outreach at Namaste Sober, Pete is dedicated to making yoga and mindfulness accessible while sharing transformative power with others. So please help me introduce Pete Sacco.
Woo. All right, how's everybody doing today? Good? So if you're having a hamburger, my voice is very soothing. People tell me they like to eat while I talk, so you're in the right place. So yeah, my name is Pete Sacco. Can everybody hear me clearly? Good? I know there's always like a what did he say sort of vibe going on. But yeah, I'm a grateful man in recovery. I'm a son of Revere, Massachusetts, and if you know people from Revere, we're sort of known for being opinionated. So that's something I constantly have to push up against myself even. If I'm being honest, I was a little confused about what to say and maybe slightly conflicted but luckily I spend a lot of my life slightly confused and conflicted and not sure what to say. When I first got clean, I wasn't sure like what to do. Like I didn't think I was doing it right. People would always say, "Oh, you didn't go to detox," and I would say, "No, I didn't go to detox. I detoxed at home, like you know." I had the Italian mother's detox. That's where you get clean on your mother's couch, and she keeps giving you eggplant parm, and you're in withdrawals, but you still eat it because you're Italian and you love eggplant parm, you know. So that was how I got clean, and I would say sober. People would say clean. I didn't know which way to go. Then at meetings, people would say, "Oh, you need to qualify." I was like, "Geez, how lucky am I? I qualified to be in this position, you know." So what I will say is, I definitely didn't know what to do, but I just kept showing up, and I can definitely see how people are intimidated and feel like they don't want to go to that sort of form of recovery. I know for myself that saved my life, but I know that I was persistent. Also, my mother used to drop me off and she would pick me up, so I had to stay for the whole thing. So that worked. But what I do feel qualified to say is people are dying, and lots of them. Countless people. The stigma or whatever, this affects everybody. No one can say, "Oh, I don't know someone in recovery anymore. You don't know someone that overdosed." Let's face it, we all know someone. So, if you're saying you're a junkie or you're an addict, you probably think about you saying that to your niece, nephew, cousin, because there's a good chance just by the numbers that someone is in recovery. So I sort of just scribbled notes. I didn't really have anything totally written down. So, do I have opinions about pathways of recovery? Yes. Do I share them? Not usually. You know what I mean? And do I ever say anything to someone in early recovery about that would make them feel uncomfortable and not come back to something? I do not. So, I discovered yoga, which, they said, and that was a game changer for me. The Dharma has so many parallels with the 12 steps and a lot less attitude, It's been incredible for me. There's certain things for example, asteya in the Dharma is like theft. And there's so many aspects to theft. It's like you can steal people's time. You can steal from yourself. You can steal from your own health. You can steal from other people. And I know in myself, when I was sort of active, I was stealing from everywhere I could. A lot, mostly from myself. So luckily, I did discover yoga, and I started to get involved with Namaste Soba. So from then on, the story just changed. I started doing yoga more and sharing it with other people, and I became a yoga teacher very quickly, and I was 300 pounds, and let me tell you something, I was the only, there was 4 girls in my teacher training, and I added up to more than them 4 together, and I kept going, I couldn't touch my toes, I couldn't do anything, but I just realized that yoga changed my life. It started to rewire my brain, and I wanted to share that. So that's what I did. And I just, kept coming back. I got very involved with Namaste Soba. I do believe service is definitely the key. We sort of help ourselves when we help other people. And now I teach all sorts of classes. I mentor multiple people in recovery. And it's changed my life. And all I can say is, just if you're somewhere, just keep going at it. Just keep trying to stay clean. That's all I can suggest. And, there's a million different ways. I said clean, I wasn't supposed to say clean. There's a million different ways to find recovery. And what works for me might not work for you. So feel free to come to a yoga class. If anyone has questions about Namaste Soba, I have a table. I'm happy to talk to you. I don't work on commission or anything, so it's going to be honest and that's it. And I'm just so grateful to be able to be here in my hometown, share and help my pal Carrie Ann out here a little bit. So thank you guys. You got it.
Thank you, Pete. That was great. So I'm going to call my next speaker. Her name is Tara. Tara is a person with lived experience of stigma who found her own path to healing. She is the founder of Burn the Stigma Outreach and the host of the Recovery Rebellion podcast, driven by her mission to dismantle the myths that fuel stigma. Tara works to bring truth, choice, and empowerment back into recovery. Let's welcome Tara.
How is everybody today? Good. So I'm really nervous, just so you guys know. So this event is called Shame on Stigma, right? Where do you guys think the most stigma towards people in recovery and towards people who are in active use come from? The recovery community, right? So I wrote a letter today because I want to flip the script on the stigma like this event's about. And that's where we need to start, right here with us. Not with society, not with the politicians, within our own community. So I wrote a letter to the recovery community today. So I'm going to read it. Dear recovery community, I don't usually come to recovery events, not because I don't care, but because I often feel like I don't belong here. I don't share a lot of the mainstream beliefs about what recovery has to look like, and when you share those beliefs, you're made to feel like there's something, and when you don't share those beliefs, you're made to feel like there's something wrong with you. This event is called Shame on Stigma, Flip the Script, so let's flip it. I firmly believe the stigma coming from within our own community is costing more lives than the substances themselves. The recovery box is too small. Listen, I don't want to prompt any uncomfortable conversations on the ride home, but I would bet there are people here who are hiding parts of their recovery because of strong opinions against it that they have heard from people within their recovery circle. Maybe it's medication for mental health, maybe it's medication for opioid use disorder, maybe it's cannabis, maybe it's an occasional drink. And if those choices are working really well for them, they feel like they can't say it out loud. Because if they do, they risk being told to toss everything and go back to day one. That isn't support, that's shame and stigma and outdated beliefs dressed up as care. And that shame does not make people safer, it drives people underground. And speaking of driving people underground, we also have to talk about this tough love and the phrase about loving someone to death. I know there are people who will say tough love saved them. I hear you and I honor your story. But you are the exception, not the rule. We do not have a compassion problem. We are not finding that people who are dying, that most people who are dying are surrounded by loved ones. We are finding many people are dying alone because of stigma, because tough love pushed them there. I'm sorry, but I just don't believe that anyone dies because they were loved too much. But many people do die because they were cut off, abandoned, isolated. If we want fewer funerals, we need more connection, not less. I have never gone to a wake or a funeral after an overdose and heard a family member say, I wish I cut them off sooner. But I have heard too many people say, I wish I had picked up that last call from them. Please don't hear me say that not to have boundaries, okay? Boundaries matter. People can and should have them. But the boundaries are for you, to keep you safe and sane. They're not weapons to punish someone into recovery. Remember, the core of substance use disorder is using despite negative consequences. If negative consequences alone could force recovery, most of us wouldn't be here. We would have learned our lesson the first time the consequences hit hard. Boundaries look different for everyone, but as a friend of mine, Brandy Mack, says, do what you can live with. We also need to retire the romance around rock bottom. In today's illicit drug supply, rock bottom isn't a wake-up call, it's death. We are seeing many deaths before substance use disorder even develops, while people are still experimenting. Waiting for this so-called gift of desperation isn't tough love. It's neglect disguised as recovery wisdom, and it's abandoning people to an unpredictable drug landscape. Banking on desperation as a strategy doesn't save lives, it ends them. And we have to flip the script on who we treat as experts. We act like people in active use have nothing to bring to the table, while the person with the most recovery time automatically knows best. Recovery experience matters, absolutely. But today's supply is illicit fentanyl, xylazines, nitazines, medetimidine, all this other stuff I can't even say. I used OCs and real heroin, and towards the end illicit fent, but I did not have to survive what people are facing now. The people using right now are navigating the drug supply in real time. They are the experts on today's landscape. If we are serious about saving lives, we need to learn from them and center their knowledge with real power, not token seats. We need more panels about people who use drugs with actual people who are using the drugs. If you want to understand what's going on out there, ask the people who are actually experiencing it. There's another script to flip, the one that teaches people they have to surrender their will because they can't trust themselves. The whole idea that we can't trust our own thinking because if we knew how to help ourselves, we wouldn't be here. If that message genuinely helps you, keep it. Like, do what works for you. Absolutely no shade. But there are a lot of people that doesn't work for. They try it, that fails them, and they're told to try it again and try a little harder. At some point, we have to stop blaming the person and start questioning the approach. Maybe it's time to help people build self-trust instead of stripping it away. Many people don't find freedom by being told they're powerless forever. They find it when they're treated like full humans with agency, tools, and choices. When they're allowed to experiment and be honest about what works. We love to quote the insanity line about doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Let's keep that same energy when we keep sending people down the same recovery path that hasn't worked for them the past 8 times they tried it. If Let's Save Lives is going to be more than a slogan, we have to make it safe to tell the truth. We shame people for not being honest about using things like cannabis or medication in their recovery, but we rarely look at the recovery culture that made that honesty feel so unsafe. We have to widen our idea of what recovery looks like, so that if a path that keeps someone alive and moving forward is treated as the same respect as abstinence. If someone is safer this month than last month, more connected, more stable, that counts. Recovery shouldn't be measured just by clean time chips and keychains. It should be measured by whether people are alive and building lives that make sense to them. And to anyone here who's been told your way doesn't count, I see you and I am you. We are not broken. We are resourceful. And if what you are doing is keeping you here, it counts. You count. I'm proud of you for pushing on when the rules told you to start over. I'm proud of the quiet choices nobody claps for. Keep going, and if no one has told you lately, I'm proud of you. I want to belong to a recovery community big enough for all of us. One where compassion is the default, and where the door stays open even when we disagree. If shame on stigma means anything, it means the courage to change here within the recovery community first. The call is coming from inside the house. So recovery community, let's answer that call. Flip that script. Not someday, not after another funeral, now. Let's build a community where nobody feels they have to lie about their recovery to belong, and where every step forward counts. Thank you.
Thank you, Tara. I'm going to call up my next speaker, Lieutenant Sako Jajarian. I can never say that right. He is a Massachusetts police leader and co-founder of the CLEAR Community and Law Enforcement Assisted Recovery, a nationally and internationally recognized recovery-oriented, trauma-informed police model. Through CLEAR, Sako advances recovery-oriented, trauma-responsive policing that connects people to public health resources and people with lived experience, reducing the likelihood of arrest and death. A sought-after national and international speaker, including the Joe Rogan experience, Sacco is known for bridging first responders, clinicians, peers, and communities. He centers on building connection, dignity, and hope, while reimagining how policing and public health can come together to save lives. Please welcome Sacco.
Thank you for that, and thanks for having me. I just want to get situated and take this in for a second. What a special event. So many people coming close to one another, right? Just looking at each other eye to eye and connecting on the heart, right? That's what community is. Connecting on and through the heart. All of us together talking about this important situation. So I prepared a short something that I'd like to read. Since this event is about stigma and flipping the script, which I completely agree with, I'm going to try to take you through a journey, okay? So use your imagination and stay with me. If I trigger some feelings in the beginning, hopefully it'll make sense by the end, what I was saying and where I was trying to go, okay? Let me know if this works. Raise your hands if you don't use drugs. All right, look at all the people in here that don't use drugs. All right. So, I was going to ask, where are my no drug use brothers and sisters, right? I see them. You raised your hand. I raised my hand, okay? But I'm going to ask you something. I want you to stay with me, right? Stay with me as we go into the truth of the matter, right? We're going to go into the truth of the matter. Everybody uses drugs, okay? I raised my hand too, all right? I'm not pointing at you here. This isn't a trick. I raised my hand too. But I'm saying the truth of the matter is everybody uses drugs. I saw some head nods. We use drugs one way or another, in one form or another, from one source or another, and always for one reason or another. It's personal. The why is personal. The inner drive, the pain, the need, the search that can lead us into a dysregulated relationship with intoxicating substances. And here's the kicker. We all think we know better. We think we know what someone else should do, how they should live, how they should use, act, or be in this society. We know better. And if we know better, then we must be better. Right? Right? Stay with me. That's how it starts. That's how hierarchy sneaks in. That's how power differential comes into these situations where we're looking at each other eye to eye and trying to connect through the heart. And if you're trying to look at each other eye to eye, connect through the heart, there's no room for hierarchy and power differential. When that happens, comes judgment. And sometimes violence. All types of violence. Not just hit you in the face with a fist violence. And little by little, we strip dignity away from our own brothers and sisters. We objectify even those we claim to love. Look around. Look around. The most addictive drugs in our society are the ones we call medicine. The most carcinogenic drugs, the ones that cause cancer, they're sold on every street corner. And the most destructive of them all, processed white sugar, is spoon-fed to our children by an industry hell-bent on creating dependency. Stay with me. This industry is hell-bent on creating people we can all look down on. So we can point a finger at them and say, they're the addicts, not us. We're different. We're special. But are we? We don't use drugs. We use this one. We don't use drugs. We drink alcohol. As if alcohol isn't a drug. We don't use drugs, but we pour 15 spoons of sugar into our coffee every morning. Do you see the lie? Do you see the picture I'm trying to paint here? I'm trying to welcome us in closer to one another through honesty, right? We aren't drug users, they are. They're over there, different, broken, other. And only if they could try harder, be stronger, be more like us, then maybe they'd be welcomed back into the exclusive club. But until then, we've got a place for them, a cage, or a coffin. That's the cost of stigma. That's the violence of pretending we are better than them. It's time right now that we stop. Stop the stigma. Stop the finger pointing. And I think you've heard this quote before. I had to use it at the end. Because when you point your freaking finger into somebody's face in judgment, you forget how many fingers you got pointing back at yourself. Please, enough with the stigma. Let's save lives. Let's put lives first. Thank you.
Talk about it. Thank you to all my amazing speakers. You each touched on what we were trying to do today. And we do need to come together as a community and stop judging. And the whole point of shame on stigma with the big foam finger, we need to stop pointing those fingers. So we are going to start our dunk tank. So if you purchase tickets for the dunk tank, you can start to line up over by it. And don't forget to get your ice cream ticket. The ice cream truck is here. Come buy more tickets. And the photo booth, take some pictures. Let's have a little bit of fun. And I'll close it out around 4:15. Thank you.
It's freezing out there. That's a close one. I like it. Get it. You gotta throw it hard. You gotta throw it hard. Come on, let's go. Spend your money. Hey, we gotta test it. I'm sorry. We gotta test it.
Across this country, movements led by people who use drugs and their allies have fought tirelessly to bring forward life-saving change. Because of those efforts, many states now legislate needle exchange programs, helping to combat the spread of hepatitis C and HIV. Because of their voices, we have pushed back against the harsh criminalization of drug use. And because of the leadership of pioneers like Dan Big, naloxone is widely available today, reversing overdoses and saving countless lives. Make no mistake, if it weren't for the activism of people who use drugs, this medication would not be in our hands. Their struggle, their resilience, their advocacy are saving lives right now in this very moment. But the work is far from done. In the last year alone, 70,000 lives were lost to overdose. Each of those numbers is a person with a name, a story, and people who love them. And behind every story of substance use is not a problem to punish, but a pain to be understood. Drugs are not the root, they are a symptom. They are the symptoms of poverty, trauma, grief, disconnection, and hopelessness. If we want to truly heal, we must be brave enough to talk about the real roots. This is deeply personal for me. I have lost loved ones who died alone. Not because they weren't loved, but because shame told them they couldn't reach out. Stigma told them they didn't deserve help, and society told them to hide. That silence is deadly, and that is why we are here. Because we must shame on stigma. We must flip the script. We must change the way we talk, think, and respond to substance use disorder. Healing begins with compassion. Compassion is more than noticing someone's suffering. It is the choice to respond with empathy, with kindness, and with a genuine desire to help. It is what transforms awareness into action, reminding us at the end of the day, we share the same humanity. There is no single solution to understanding substance use disorder. Each person's path is unique, and so are the circumstances that shape their struggles. Addiction thrives in the shadows of poverty, isolation, emotional pain, and despair. For some, drugs may be the only source of relief they can find. That is why compassion, connection, and community matter so deeply, because they offer something more powerful than punishment, the possibility of healing. So before we close, I just want to take a moment to give heartfelt thanks. Thank you to Mayor Keefe for being such a huge supporter of our efforts to help those in need while shining light on stigma surrounding substance use disorder. To my amazing public health and outreach team, your dedication, hard work, and compassion make everything we do possible. We truly could not put on an event like this without each and every one of you. A big thank you to our Revere police officers and DPW employees for joining us today and showing your support in such a meaningful way by getting dumped. To our city officials, thank you for standing with us and for your willingness to speak out and take action against stigma in our community. I'd like to thank Just a Little Help for their partnership and support in all that we do. Please donate. A special thanks to all our vendors on the spectrum of care, from harm reduction, low threshold housing, treatment, recovery centers, grief support, and sober living. And finally, to our incredible speakers, thank you for your courage, your honesty, and for sharing your stories with us. Your voice brings hope, healing, and understanding to everyone who listens. So as we leave here today, let's carry forward this truth. Change is possible, but only when we lead with understanding, stand against stigma, and choose compassion over judgment. Together, let us shame on stigma. Together, let us flip the script. And together, let us honor those lives lost by creating a world where no one has to suffer or die in silence again. Thank you all for coming.
Let's round of applause for Gary Ann.